So my name is Ann Phelan. I'm the manager of resources and engagement here at the Perkins Transition Center, and we welcome you. If you're just joining, if you could kindly please place your name and your age, if you're an advocate with a disability, family members, professionals, you can share your website. And also, please, if you would like to add any information about how people can contact you at your agency. Um, we really just want to reinforce that we're building a community here tonight. We thank you for having space. We have an hour together. So we're going to start the slideshow. So what is self-advocacy and dignity of risk? It's really important to think about the terminology of that. The dignity of risk refers to the rights of individuals to make choices and experience any consequence of those choices, even if those choices have potential risk. So we all have to learn from our mistakes, and we want people with disabilities to have those same opportunities. And self-advocacy is really one of the paramount precepts of self-determination, which my colleague Allison will be talking about a little bit later this evening. And self-advocacy refers to the abilities of individuals with disabilities to speak to their preferences and needs and wants, and being front and center to the parts of their life that are important to do so. And tonight we'll meet Derek, who will be talking about his life as a self-advocate. So self-advocacy is important because it encourages effective communication, builds confidence and self-esteem. Also, it's very important as far as inclusion and equity, being part of the community. And greater inclusion provides more self-dignity. And also, we do know that people who advocate for their needs have better transition outcomes. They're able to express their needs and their wants. There's a movement out there, and it's called Nothing About Me Without Me. And if you know this phrase, you know that Judy Heumann, the late great advocate, who was one of the people behind the 504 Act, the Rehab Act of 73, we know that no one talks about us being there. We want to really be empowered. Something that I really want to talk about for about a minute is that we understand that everyone has diverse needs, and that some of our students and advocates with disabilities have greater needs, whether they're medical or behavioral, and we know that everyone's in a different place. And it's really important that a total communication approach is used in the school systems to help people with disabilities learn how to speak and advocate for their needs. So that might include having a lot of work with your speech and language therapist, and it might include having goals in the IEP around self-advocacy. So that's something really important to start talking about. If anyone here is in middle school, we really want you to encourage to ensure that self-advocacy goals are in the IEPs. So thank you for that. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my colleague Allison Cohen-Hall from Institute for Community Inclusion, who is going to facilitate her conversation with Derek and Theresa Hurd. So thank you, Allison, for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for having us. I am going to share my screen. Can everybody see my screen? Awesome. Okay, so thank you so much again for having us. I'm really excited to be here with Derek and Theresa. I won't take up too much of your time here. I'm just going to set the stage and introduce a little bit about the project and how I met Derek, the project that we work on together, and give a little background on the Center on Youth Voice, Youth Choice. And I'm from the Institute for Community Inclusion at UMass Boston. We're a UCED, a University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities. We're one of the two UCEDs in Massachusetts. The other is the Shriver Center. So I'm just going to talk about some key concepts. I know that there's been other transition talks focused on these concepts, but we're going to be talking a little bit about guardianship, alternatives to guardianship, and supported decision-making. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with these terms. A guardianship means that someone has gone to court and is able to make decisions on behalf of someone else. And alternatives to guardianship is something different than that. There are lots of different alternatives to guardianship, and one really important one is supported decision making. So I think we're going to talk a good amount about supported decision making tonight, but there are lots of other alternatives to guardianship, again, which I think you've had some transition talks on already, but we can certainly share more resources after we talk if people are interested in more information. We're, as I said, pretty focused on supported decision making. We think it's really important for people with disabilities to be able to retain their rights. Anne talked a lot about self-advocacy, self-determination, dignity of risk. Supported decision making can help youth with intellectual and developmental disabilities kind of actualize dignity of risk and actualize self-determination. And it's because they are provided support to make decisions without losing their rights. So again, a person with in supported decision making, a person with a disability gets the support of a trusted person to make their own decisions about their lives. It can be formal or informal. I think about 19 states have legislation around self-determination, or I'm sorry, around supported decision making, but supported decision making can be practiced anywhere. A really important note about supported decision making is that we all use it. Supported decision making is just help and support and guidance and advice on making big decisions, but that the right to make the decision resides within the person. So just a note there that we all use different levels of supported decision making. Supporters can be lots of different types of people. We're going to hear from Derek about the different supporters in his life and kind of the circle of support that you've cultivated for yourself. Supporters can be family members, friends, teachers, counselors, religious or faith leaders. They can be people you work with. They could be people who support you at work or doctors. And I think the point really here is that any trusted individual can be somebody that helps you make decisions. And again, if we think about all of our own lives, we have trusted people who help us make these big decisions in our lives. So again, I'm going to go back to the dignity of risk, the self-advocacy, and the self-determination. Why is this an important issue that we're talking about tonight? It's because compared to people without guardians, people with guardians are less likely to make important decisions in their life. They're less likely to decide where they live, who they live with, what to do during the day and their daily schedule, and what to buy with their spending money. So data shows from, and this data is from Human Services Research Institute, which is out of Cambridge, the National Core Indicator Project. This data shows that people with guardians have less autonomy and less self-determination than those who don't have guardians. So that's really an important thing to remember. The research also tells us why families seek guardianship. There's lots of really important reasons why families decide that guardianship is the right way for them to go. Sometimes they fear losing access to education and health information about their youth when they turn 18. Very often, and hopefully this is changing, but historically, guardianship has been suggested by doctors, um, school personnel, other parents. Um, and also we know, Anne, you talked a little bit about the IEP process and helping youth plan for their futures during transition planning. Transfer of rights conversations. So these are conversations that happen when youth is turning 18 and guardianship is naturally moving from the parents to the 18-year-old. These transfer of rights conversations are overly simplified and often very brief in schools. So parents don't learn about alternatives to guardianship. in schools. And students don't learn about alternatives to guardianship either. We have done research in Massachusetts and New York, and these alternatives to guardianship are just not widely known by school personnel, by families, or by students themselves. But we know it's really important for students to be involved in these decisions. When thinking about youth with IDD involved in discussion about decision making, they're typically present but not actively involved. It's particularly limited for those perceived as less capable, those using augmentative and alternative communication. So youth who don't communicate verbally and communicate in other ways, they are more at risk for people thinking that they can't make decisions and for people underestimating their abilities. And we know that youth with IDD are very, very rarely seen as the primary decision makers. And we know that part of this is low expectations that people can have for youth with disabilities. But we also know that, and you'll hear from Derek and from hear about other youth who've been engaged in our work. These youth are amazing, and their expectations can't be high enough because they exceed all these expectations. So it's really about making sure that these youth have all the opportunities available to them so they can reach their full potential. I wanted to add this slide. It talks about self-determination. We have one of our partners, Self-Advocates Becoming Empowered, which is the National Self-Advocacy Organization. So Massachusetts has Mass Advocates Standing Strong. The national organization is Self-Advocates Becoming Empowered. And they were a key partner, are a key partner in this project. And they have always stressed that alternatives to guardianship are a pathway to self-determination. And I'll just briefly read this quote. Self-determination is speaking up for our rights and responsibilities and empowering ourselves to stand up for what we believe in. This means being able to choose where we work, where we live, and our friends, to educate ourselves and others, to work as a team to obtain common goals, and to develop the skills that enable us to fight for our beliefs, to advocate for our needs, and to obtain the level of independence that we desire. I come back to this slide quite a bit because this is the reason why we're all here. So again, SABE, Self-Advocates Becoming Empowered, is a really important partner on the Civic Project. Our little logo is down on the left, the Center on Youth Voice, Youth Choice. We were funded by the Administration on Community Living about 5 years ago now, with the goal of with the goal of supporting youth to use greater use of guardianship alternatives. So less reliance on guardianship and more reliance on guardianship alternatives to really maximize youth self-determination. We have been supporting youth to lead the charge for change in their states, and other outcomes that we have been moving towards as more students will have more choices after high school and fewer youth will have guardians. This is a really nice visual that's on the screen right now. It's one of the ways that we have been centering the voice of youth and youth as leaders in our work. We have a graphic facilitator who has worked with us from Georgia. And we have, when we developed our youth curriculum and we were training youth ambassadors to promote alternatives to guardianship in their states, we know we needed to do a good amount of training. And we had this graphic facilitator as part of our training. So she would develop these visuals to help explain the concepts about what we were talking with youth about. So this is an example of one of the visuals, and it represents the Civic Project, and it has 4 different gears. The orange gear is a steering committee, which includes 75% youth with IDD who steer the ship, and they support the direction of where the project goes. Then we have the red gear is the national team, and you'll see lots of acronyms. I'm from ICI, Institute for Community Inclusion. We have lots of Massachusetts folks as part of this project, Center for Public Representation. Georgia Advocacy Office, SABE, as I mentioned, and HSRI, Human Services Research Institute. But then we have the blue gear, and the blue gear represents 11 states that we do training and technical assistance with. And those states are working on plans to further alternatives to guardianship for youth with IDD. And then the big gear is the yellow gear because they are the most important part of the project. They're the youth. Each state, so as I said, we had 11 states we worked with, trained up to 4 youth ambassadors. And our youth ambassadors did some amazing work that I'm just so excited to be able to showcase here today. This is just a little bit about what's available on our website, youth-voice.org. We have lots and lots of resources. We are a resource and knowledge translation center. Youth is our primary audience. We have an interactive map displaying alternatives to guardianship in each state. We have research briefs, promising practices, state team pages, youth stories. You could see Derek's page and Derek's story on our website, the Youth Ambassador curriculum that we developed, and the Youth Ambassadors, their projects. And we also have a focus on plainer language. We know that lots of disability policy doesn't always make room for youth, doesn't always make room for people with lived experience with disability, and we really wanted to have youth as our primary audience. So that has been a goal. So I did see, I think either John Carlo is on the webinar, or I saw his family pop on. I'm not going to play this video because I really want to dedicate lots and lots of time to Derek, but this is another Youth Ambassador, John Carlo from New Jersey. And it's just a really nice example of the creativity of the youth that we work with. Thinking for Me is a comic that John Carlo and his sister developed, and then we were able to animate it and use Giancarlo and his friends' voices so when you can play it, you can hear their stories and the dialogue between the characters of this comic book. So it's really awesome. And when we send out the slides, you'll be able to see this. But again, I really wanted to just kind of set the scene for Derek, for you to be able to kind of talk about your journey and talk about the support that you've received making decisions, how you make decisions with your circle, how it's been for your mom, because I know that's a really important part of this all too. So at this point, that's our website where lots and lots of resources are available. I'll move the slides and I'm going to turn it over to you, Derek, okay?
All right. My name is Derek Hurd, and thanks for Dance to Talk.
And my name is Theresa Hurd, and I'm mom. Next slide.
I'll go by he, him, and his. I am a black man with curly dark brown hair. I'm wearing a blue and white checker shirt.
And my name is Theresa Hurd. I'm a biracial woman. I have long brown hair, and I'm wearing a pink and blue blouse.
I am a business owner, public speaker, Harvard fellow, citizen rights, and volunteer advocate, artist, and so much more.
Next slide.
Transitioning on my road to independence.
Next slide.
Transitioning means change,
Next slide.
but I should be able to make my own decisions.
Next slide.
It is important to me to make my own decisions because it gives me power over my life. It makes me feel confident.
And so, Derek, how do you feel if somebody decides to just, I'm going to take control and you don't have any decision?
It makes me powerful.
No, when somebody takes over your decisions.
It makes me so mad, so mad. I just want the people see me through.
I understand. That's right. You want people to see you.
I want to hold the map.
Next slide.
on the road to my life. Ready, set, go. What do you see?
Oh, hold on, Derek. All right, Derek, go ahead.
Supporting decision making by letting me right my rights and letting me get help when I need it. Just because I don't know how to do something doesn't mean I should lose my rights.
Okay, next slide.
I want to hold my map on the road to my life. Ready, set, go.
Next slide.
What do you see? I am a baby and can't see the road. I am a back seat. My mom is driving the car. She has the mirror to always look at me. My mom has the map. My mom used her bag and tools.
So, Derek, you don't remember this time, but during this time, it was a lot of transition for me and Dad, right?
Yeah.
Because we were all trying to figure out what was going on and how can we get the kind of supports for you, right?
Yeah.
So it was really busy and it was really kind of a wild time for me and your dad during this time.
Mm-hmm.
But we always knew we were going to do the best for you. Next slide.
Choice starts early. Choice starts early.
That's right, Derek. And so right here, what's one type of example of a choice that you decided to make a long time ago when you
First of all, Mom, I had I had sandals in my feet. One day for sure, I got sand in my sandals.
and how did you feel about that sand in your sandals?
It makes me it makes me feel like the sand is it keeps coming out of my shoe. It feels like it feels like a quicksand.
Yes. And so you let us know real quick that you wanted to have sneakers instead, right?
Yeah.
That's right. So change, and when you think about choice, can be a more complicated choice or it can
Yeah.
be a simple choice, right,
Yeah.
Derek? That's right.
What do you see? I am fixed
Next slide. Go ahead, Derek.
Ford had my own bag of support and tools. My bag is small because I am learning. My mom is still driving, but I can still see. Mom has a map, but I see it.
So, Derek, you remember this time? You remember IEPs?
Yes.
And so we were learning all this about IEPs and trying to figure out what kind of supports we were needed to get. And this was kind of a critical time for us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because you remember the therapist and everybody who used to come and see you?
Yeah.
This was the beginning of all that. So it was kind of hairy, wasn't it?
Yes.
But, you know, what we always thought about was that our focus needed to be on you. And we wanted all your teachers and everyone there to focus on you as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part of that also is getting you to kind of explore the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you a secret, Derek.
What?
When you were smaller, you
Yeah.
really didn't like a lot of big crowds.
Yeah.
So do you know what I used to do?
What?
I'd get you in the car and we would go driving all over the neighborhood and the town so that you'd be able to see things. So you didn't have to be bothered by all the crowds, but you could kind of see the world because me and your dad knew the world is out there and there was no way we could keep you from it, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Mom is using the mirror to see me. Mom's still using her bag, but it helps me to feel mine. Tools for life.
Derek, one of the great tools that you showed us that you enjoy doing is what?
Mhm. Drawing.
Drawing, yes. And so we decided to use that actually to our benefit. So anytime you needed to understand something, we use pictures.
Yeah.
And anytime when you wanted to communicate something to us, we would use drawings, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
And it just became this way for us to communicate. And we used that same thing when we went into your school. And we had you draw pictures and things for your IEP meetings, didn't we?
Right.
That's right. So we were trying to help you with choices, but mommy didn't always do good with choices, did I?
No?
No, not all the time. And so do you remember the time I decided that I was just going to force you to get potty trained?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what happened?
I threw the I I don't want to talk about it. Like, let's just say I made a communicate while I was a baby.
So you communicated a different way while you were a baby, right?
Yeah.
And so you threw your diaper off at night, didn't you?
Yes.
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 And so that was your way of talking to me, right? And telling
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. I threw the diaper everywhere in the whole house.
Yeah. But guess what? That was your way of talking to me, right?
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. I had to do it.
Yes.
And thank you all.
Next slide.
What do you see?
Oh, hold on.
My mom and dad lets me draw. I like to draw.
Next slide.
What do you see? People in the seat, maps, and who's holding front? What direction are the people facing? The bags and tools. Who is in the driver's seat?
So Derek, in this one, who's in the driver's seat?
Mom did.
Yeah. But who's in the back seat?
Me.
And what are you doing back there?
Navigating.
That's right. You're navigating, letting me know what I need to do. And so even when you think about middle school, you were still in charge of your IEPs, right? And do you remember what we used to do before your IEP meetings? We used to draw pictures of how you felt about being in class, about your teachers, and what you thought was great for you in your classroom, right?
Yeah.
That way, we would be able to come to the class and come to your IEP meetings prepared. And we used to always lead with good things, talking about all the accomplishments that you would be doing in your IEPs.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Next slide.
What do you see? I have my own bag and it's getting bigger. My mom still has the mirror to see me. Mom has a map, but it's changing. I am in the back seat, but I am holding the map. My mom is still driving, but I am pointing and let her know what I want.
So Derek, in here, you're still pointing, you have your bag, it's getting bigger, right?
Mhm.
And one thing that we did a lot of is modeling, didn't we, Derek?
Right.
And sometimes when you didn't understand things, we would model.
Yeah.
Can I tell them the story about finishing work?
Be my guest, Mom.
And so one of the stories that we did was Derek would go to school, and sometimes when he would get in during that time, timeout, then he would have to be in timeout and then he would come out and he would have to finish his work and he didn't want to. And so one of the things we discovered obviously when he was in school was that this timeout really wasn't working for him because he actually enjoyed being in timeout. It got him away from everything, and it really wasn't a productive way to redirect him. And so we decided that we would actually take him into a sensory room at the time, but he still needed to come back and finish his work. And so, an example I gave to Derek is that one day I was cooking and I yelled out in the kitchen, I don't want to cook anymore. I'm tired and I don't want to do this. And he looked at me and said, but if you don't cook, Mom, then I'll be hungry. And I said, I know, but I'm so tired and I just don't want to do anything. And he told me, please, Mom, could you cook? And so I looked at him and I said, you know what, Derek, even though I'm tired, and even though sometimes I don't want to do something, I still have to do it because I know it's better and it's for you, right, Derek? And he said, yes. And I said, that's right. And sometimes when you have classwork and you really don't want to do it, but you still have to do it even when you don't feel like it sometimes, right?
Right.
And so we do a lot of modeling in order to help Derek to understand situations. Next slide.
Right. My mom is my mom's back is growing as well. My mom is driving, but she is helping me with my map.
So one of the key features here is that we always talk about, Derek, is whose map is that?
Oh, mine.
Mine, right? And I started off with a map, but in the end, whose map is number one?
Mine.
That's right. Next slide.
You using supporting decision making when you make decisions and ask for advice or find information to make the best decisions.
So same with Allison, I didn't really realize we were using supported decision making. Really, I put a name to it. We were just talking with Derek, giving him the best kind of advice about his decisions. And so again, we used a lot of modeling. And part of that also was getting Derek to become an active part of the home. So we didn't shy away from things like if his brother was ill, we actually had him come and be a part of those moments. That also helped him to understand some of the things that we did with him when he didn't feel good. So between household work and going out in the community and going to banks and grocery stores, he was an active participant. And we didn't shy away from him being involved in all aspects of our life because for us, we knew life is out there and it was coming whether or not we wanted it or not. Next slide.
What do you see? I am in the back seat, but I have clear view of what is from the back. My mom is driving but still see me in the mirror. She makes sure to double check her map is slowly match mine. Remember where you sit. Mom is not the same as me, but focus on me.
I think sometimes as parents, we do have to learn how to take a back seat to things. We're kind of in a different position where we are, and it's learning to make that transition. And as you see in the slides, it gradually happens where there is that transition from the back seat to the front seat where we take more of a supportive role rather than driving the car. Next slide.
My bag is getting larger. Mom, are you getting more confident? Your bag is changing. I am leading all the allies in my life.
So Derek, I know you have a lot of allies in your life, don't you?
Yeah.
And so can you name some of the allies that are in your life?
My Miss Allison, Principal Art Teacher Michelle, Janelle, Kate, Gabby, and so much more.
Yes, so much more with so many organizations, right, Derek? So I think a big part of being a parent for Derek was opening doors for him to find allies for himself. And so it wasn't just my allies that he was inheriting. I wanted him to find his own support network of people. And a lot of that took a lot of footwork and us going out there and being part of the community and being a part of a bigger picture. So he became very involved with Rev Up, Derek, right? And Rev Up, you did what? What did you do in Rev Up for about what?
Voting.
Voting, that's right. And that happens to be one of your favorite things to do, isn't it?
Right.
That's right. Next slide.
I need the information, my IEP. I is a layer in a IEP in visualize. But it means so much more.
Next slide.
The letter, I mean all these things. Independent, involved, imagination, ideal, informed, and so much more.
That's right. Next slide.
What do you see? I am in the front seat. I am holding the map. My bag is so full now. I am learning the view from the front in the seat. You are still driving, but I am holding the map. You talk to me about detour and roads that I could take.
So Derek, sometimes when you make decisions, you can make good decisions, right? And maybe some decisions that aren't so great, right?
Right.
But are you the only person that does bad decisions sometimes?
No.
Do I make bad decisions sometimes?
Yeah.
That's right. Everybody makes bad decisions sometimes. So this idea that, you're the only one that cannot do that. Oh, Derek cannot. That's just not true, right, Derek?
Right.
Because when you make decisions, you get to learn from them, don't you?
Yeah.
That's right. Next slide.
I knew this may be a scary time, but how will you be able to fly if you don't let me flap my wings? Let me try. Let my mom know my gift, but also what I need help with.
So one of the things I would say is I used to think that by doing everything for Derek, that I was saving him grief. Oh, it's hard. I'll just do it for him. It'll be easier. It'll be quicker. And really, I was wrong. How could I know what Derek is great at and what he needs more support with, and let I get him out there to try? And one of the biggest moments that was an aha moment for me was I went to a conference, and the conference leaders told me to stay in my room and not to come out and let Derek go down to the conference by himself. And I was initially terrified, but he went down there all by himself through all the people to find the room he was supposed to go. He taught his class and he came right back upstairs to the room. And that was a real pivotal moment for me because I always thought he would just need my whole support going all the way down there. And he let me know, no, mom, I'm a very capable adult, so you can stay in your room. Next slide.
A big decision I made was choosing to work as a graphic art business. My school has a job at laundry business for me, but I told my mother I don't want to work at it. I got to choose.
So, Derek, when your school came and said to you, hey, do you want to work at the laundry?
I said no.
You said no, that's right. And what were they having you do at the laundry? You were doing what?
Hanger.
Stacking hangers, right?
Yeah.
And so you didn't want to do that. So, what did you want to do?
Do graphic.
You want to do graphic art, right?
Right.
So, we started your own business. And what is it called?
Derek's Tools.
Derek's Doodles. That's right. Next slide.
Having a choice makes me feel powerful. I can do anything.
Next slide.
What do you see? I driving. This is new and I have a new set of tools need. My mom is holding my map. My map leads the way. I am exploring the road, and my mom is there to give me advice.
That's right, Derek. And whose map is that I'm holding?
Mine.
That's right. So we're being guided by your map about what you want to do, right?
Right.
That's right. Next slide.
Just because you made mistake doesn't mean you can lose your rights.
That's right.
Have you ever made mistake, y'all? Because sometimes I made mistakes. I bet there is something you don't know how to do.
That's right, Derek. I'll tell you a secret. I don't know how to change a tire on my car. But can I tell you something else?
What?
I still drive my car.
Right.
So there are lots of things that people do, and we may not know everything, but we're still able to do it, right?
Right.
That's right. Next slide.
What do you see? People in the seat. I met and who is holding them? What directions are the people facing? The bags and tools. Who is in the driver's seat?
So Derek, if you see here, you're driving, and who are these? You have people in the back now, right?
Yeah.
Who are those people?
They're my allies.
Yes, they're your allies. So you've gotten allies now that are there to support you on your journey as long, and I'm in the car as well, right?
Right.
That's right. Next slide.
Nobody rides the road alone. Mom and me will have allies that are there to help us. I will teach allies my map. My allies can help add tools to my bag. When I help, my allies can help me make decisions.
That was one of the emphasis we put on Derek is finding allies in the community. They will be a part of his support network even when we're not here.
All right.
Next slide.
I'm the president. Focus my gift and keep focus on me.
Next slide.
What do you see? All my allies will need to understand my map. When my allies really care for me, then they will be help me over the hill rather than changing the road. My allies will change as I make my own personal allies.
That's right, Derek. So, as someone who's a family member and allies, rather than telling you, no, don't do this, or no, don't do that, and I don't feel comfortable with you doing this, it's helping you navigate it, right?
Right,
And to see how you go down that path.
right.
Next slide.
Where I am now, I am working on getting more independent and find tools to use to help me with my business. I am find new people to help me. My mom is going to slowly step out of the car. I have to prepare for the living of an important passenger.
That's right, Derek. So, Derek, is this a fast race we have to hurry up and get done?
Yeah,
Or is it a marathon where it's slow and steady?
slow and steady.
Slow and steady. So, it isn't who's first at the finish line,
Right,
it's who's prepared at the finish line, right?
right.
That's right. Next slide.
This, these are the tools that I use. Mom is reading email, using technology, using AI to get big ideas. I had a cell phone. I had a bigger group allies.
And so for us, technology has been wonderful for Derek to helping him, whether it's speaking on his phone with his mic or using Alexa to ask thousands of questions or how to spell things or even to call me. AI and technology has been critical in regards to Derek's development towards independence. Next slide.
I decide my schedule. Mom limits my travel.
So a big piece of Derek's independence that a lot of times I would struggle with is Derek gets to decide his schedule and he gets to decide how long he wants to be somewhere. And it was a learning moment for me when I went to a conference in Arizona that took a little too long for him, and he let me know. So we made an agreement that when we do further conferences, he would tell me specifically the amount of time that he wanted to be there. And so he dictates that. And so I follow what he wants. Next slide.
Having a choice, it makes me feel powerful. I can do anything.
Next slide.
What do you see? I have my own map on how I want to life to be. I have my own allies that I will choose to be with me. I have my own bags of supports, ideas, and choice through support decision making. Someone is missing in the car. I am in the driver's seat. the road to make my own decisions.
So who's missing, Derek?
That's you, Mom.
Yes, that's right. And so one day this is going to be your car, right? You're driving in life, right?
Right,
So we have to be prepared for that.
right.
I think you'll feel a lot better, right, Derek, if you had all the supports and things that you need, right?
Yes, duh.
Next.
Learn how to make my own decisions starts now. One day this will be your child. We want to know how to make informed decisions.
Next slide.
Even if I'm not a driver, see, the point is that I need to hold my map to my life.
Next slide.
A life of interdependent is what I want. Nobody drives their life without other people. I need tools and people around me to live the life I want.
If there's one thing I would really encourage people is getting out there, getting involved, and building your own personal network. I think it's critical when you talk about for Derek growing up and when he is living on his own, that he have this network of support beyond his family. Next slide.
So, pres- so parents, allies, support. So, what does a life look like when the person can make their own decisions with great allies?
Next slide.
These are the things I've done.
That's right. So those are all the things you're doing, right, Derek?
Right.
And but there's more, isn't there? What are you currently working on?
Allison and Harbor Fellow.
So you're a Harvard fellow now and you're working with Allison right here, right?
Right.
And you're also doing what?
Henry Tummy Museum.
So you have artwork in the Harriet Tubman Museum?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And what else are you doing?
Selma, Selma March and Civil Rights, Alabama. March to Selma.
So you're actually going to go to Selma and march there and you're going to get to speak to the John Lewis family, aren't you?
Right.
And you're also mentoring some students, right?
Right.
At the John Lewis High School.
Yes.
So you're keeping mommy very busy, aren't you?
Right.
Next slide.
Thanks for chance to hear all this.
Thank you so much.
Wow, Derek, thank you so much. I took a lot of notes. I want to open it up for questions if anybody has any comments. In our resource slide, Derek, we do have the link for Selma Vote. And if I'm correct, on July 26th, we can all register and virtually walk with you if we can't get to Alabama. Is that correct, Derek?
Yeah, right now I will say that the Selma event is on pause because they're still waiting for permission from the feds basically, to make sure that they can finish the walk. So right now it's on pause.
All right, great.
He is walking with students, whether he gets permission from the feds or not for the park to be closed, but he is walking with the students.
All right, so keep us posted on that.
Yeah.
And I did put in the chat box, Derek, the information about Rev Up, which is a very big voting initiative. And really what I want to say, and please, if you have questions, put them in the chat box and I'll read them for you. And I want to thank our advocates with disabilities who are here tonight. Please, if you have a story you want to share in the chat box, I'll read that for you. I really love what you talk about having allies in the community. So, Theresa, moving from being the doer and the navigator and the chauffeur and the advocate and the personal care attendant and really letting go and moving from the driver's seat to more letting Derek, you taking charge of your life, that's a real big process. And Theresa, how difficult was that for you? And Derek, how did you get mom to loosen the reins and let you drive the bus more, I should say?
Yes. How did you get me to step back? What did you talk to me about stepping back? Hmm?
Oh, when I talk in front and be more independent.
So you want to be more independent, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so I will say for me, it was very, very hard. Um, I thankfully had enough people surrounding me to actually help guide me through the process. Um, I always try to remember that I wanted to always afford the same opportunities for Derek as my other two boys. And I had to sit down and really evaluate, am I cheating Derek out of experiences by sheltering and coddling him so much that he really won't be able to function well in the real world that's out there? And when I really thought about it, I was like, no, Theresa, you need to step back. It's actually for the better of Derek. And talking with him and actually talking to some of his personal allies, that really goaded me to kind of take a step back and let kind of Derek direct the ship. Derek decides all the speaking events and anything that he wants to be involved with. The only counsel I usually tell Derek is Derek loves to say yes to everything. So I usually have to remind him by his schedule that you have all these people on your schedule. Do you think it would be good to get another since you have all this? So usually I guide him that way, but he makes all his decisions in regards to that.
And speaking of decisions, Derek, when did you start attending your IEP meetings? We have Mary Beck from Arkansas today. Thank you, Mary Beth Beck. Great question. When did you start attending your IEP meetings?
Because when I started at 2000,
Do you remember what grade you were in?
I'm in 5th grade.
Okay, yeah.
That's pretty early. I think that in our transition timeline, if people want to have a copy of that, it talks about the stages and ages and what parents and advocates should be doing. Typically 14, but really well done, Derek, to get there in an early start. And I really love that you talked about choice making. And so, Theresa and Derek, if you think about self-determination and choice making, what are some easy beginner things that parents can start doing with younger students? Because we do have some parents with younger children in our audience today.
So for me as the parent, one of the things I can say is, I always say it doesn't have to be really complex choices in the very beginning. It can be very simple choices. And I think about it, it's no different than I would do for my other sons who are here. Simple choices that graduate to more complex ones. So, Derek started having an opinion about his clothes. I mean, Mom, I don't like these. You've been putting me in this for years, and I don't like these clothes and I prefer to wear this. And going shopping with him so he can decide those kinds of things. Or even when he decides about what he wants to eat, he's now enjoying cooking. And so now I go out and get things so that he can kind of decide what he wants to cook at home. And so it can be very simple choices and building up to more complex ones. So yeah, for me, it was really that was really the beginning of it.
And
What
that
about
really fosters and builds it with bigger decision making and more choice making. Allison, you had a great question going back to building your community networks. Derek and Theresa, what is your biggest piece of advice for building those important networks? And who are some of those allies, Derek, that are really big in your life?
If I want the I want the people to see me through about void decision making by going through my art and work my butt for decades.
Yeah, he says he works his behind off. Yes, that's right. And so, Derek, who are some people that actually support you again?
Michelle, Kate, Gabby, you, Dad, and Miss Thompson.
Hmm. So some of the groups that Derek is a part of is Rev Up, which is voting advocacy. He's also a part of I Decide Georgia, which is sort of the Georgia arm of supported decision making. And then he's also a part of Synergies Works. Um, he's a part of New Disabled South. Um, As I said before, he's a Harvard fellow. So he's actually he's a uh, what is it? Lois Curtis? Not Lois Curtis. I can't remember. He's been a part of so much stuff. He's been a part of a lot of things. And so basically for me, it's getting him involved with these groups so he can find his allies. And that's exactly what has happened. He's found these groups and the peoples in it, and he's able to cultivate these kinds of relationships.
Thank you so much. I'm just mindful of the time. We're coming to an end. Salima's last question is how to foster self-advocacy and self-esteem. I think we just talked so much about choice making, decision making, dignity of risk, being able to make mistakes with support. And also for families who are looking at legal decision making before you jump into full-on guardianship, really understand that supported decision making is a legal process that's recognized in I think 19 states now. It's just growing. And this means that decision makers, as they're called, are making decisions with people in their lives that support them. So, healthcare proxies and, supported ways to manage money with debit cards and power of attorneys are other ways to really oversee, to prevent vulnerability and exploitation, but without taking the rights away from people. So I think the message today is we want to build our allies. We want to start self-determination and self-advocacy early. And Derek, we really are inspired by you. In our slides, Janine, I think we can switch over when you have a moment. And I noticed that we have some grandparents here today. One of my colleagues from the Human Rights Advisory Board is here with me today. Thank you all. These are our resources that you will get a copy of the slides with Derek's website, Derek's Doodles. I love the name and I love your little logo. And tomorrow we have something really big starting. If you all are available, we have a lunchtime series that starts tomorrow. And Derek, this is really about self-determination, sexuality. Let's talk about it. And we talk about our body and our rights to have a say in our sexuality and our relationships. So it starts tomorrow. It runs for 4 Wednesdays at lunchtime, 12 Eastern Standard Time. And those are the topics we'll be talking with Catherine from Elevatus. This is a real treat, and this is a gold nugget for parents, advocates with disabilities, and professionals. And if you feel like you need a little bit more support or a lot of support around transition planning, our team at the Transition Center supports all disabilities and all aspects of transition planning, including college navigation and all aspects of transition. And yes, everything we do is on Zoom. And we have a Facebook community. So if you all take your camera out, you can scan the QR code. We'll go slow and hold this slide for a moment. We feel like, Derek, that Facebook groups are really a beautiful way to build community. And our Facebook group is a place where people can ask questions and people are sharing information and resources. And this is our team, and we hit the hour right on the 30 minutes past. Derek, thank you. Thank you, our interpreters. Allison from ICI, our transition team. We honor all of you for being here tonight and hope to see you tomorrow for our sexuality series. Good night.